except if he spots me on the roads. Then he likes to get into my lane and drive like he's trying to smash into my car. Hi guys, welcome back to the Quora Zone. Today we're reading from What Secret Did You Learn About Your Neighbour That Made Your Jaw Drop? Our first post is from Brennan Stark. Knock knock. I get up and go and open the door. Standing there is my next door neighbour's eldest son. What can I do for you? I ask. Can I borrow a curly cord, please? Mine got cut. What? A curly cord? What's that? You know, on your phone, the curly cord on your phone. I cut mine and I needed to make a call. This was before the days of us all having phones in our pockets. No, you cannot borrow my curly cord. Damn, I'm having a bad day. This morning I got done for armed rob. He said it so casually too, like, yeah, I stubbed my toe this morning. My response was, what? What did you say? Yeah, you know the Spar supermarket on Burpinjury got done over by a guy with a machete the other day? Well, that was me. I got arrested this morning for it. I honestly don't remember any more of the conversation. I do know that our relationship with those neighbours soured, and we moved not long after. So yeah, my jaw dropped with that little bombshell. Our next post is from Melanie Cummings. My elderly neighbour from Germany always wore long sleeves, even when it was hot out. I was having a conversation with her in the front yard while she was trimming her roses. As she reached in deeper to cut a particular branch, it got her sleeve and bared her arm a little. She had numbers tattooed on her forearm, like from a concentration camp. She looked up to see if I'd seen it, but I suddenly got interested in picking up a pretty leaf. If she didn't want to tell me about it, I wouldn't force her. It shook me to the core though. She got a lot more hugs from me after that. She eventually told me some of her story. I cried right there in front of her, and I told her how grateful I was that I got to know her. This post was from 6 years ago. I honestly find it so crazy that, even though we're in 2025, not that long ago, or like a bit over 100 years ago. When was the Second World War? 1916? 110 years ago, the war, concentration camps, even just in general, not talking about the war, but how far cars have come, planes, and planes only start the brothers, it was 1970s, just a whole lot, just in general, slaves and stuff, and the black rights, they got rights in 1920 something actually, females actually getting a vote, and that was something else. Same-sex marriage for Australia was only a couple years ago, and then you have phones and laptops, and it's all cool and all new, but really it's honestly the very first stages still of technology. Even the first stages were 1980s, the first computer, but still though, we're still so very early on, and it's really crazy how quickly the whole world has changed. It's really cool, really sad. Some people from World War II are still alive. Some people that were in those concentration camps are still alive. Even that baby, that 12-month-old baby, 9-month-old baby that was on the Titanic, died in 2017 or something, which was only a couple of years ago. It's so crazy, yeah, to me actually. Our next post is from Bob Sutterfield. She was a nice elderly, from my perspective, as a 14-year-old in the mid-1970s, lady with red hair, maybe not original, and a German accent. She tended her garden and played tennis at the club several days a week. She asked Dad and me to help her remove a bush because the birds ate the berries and made a mess on her patio, but allowed us instead to harvest the gooseberries if we gave her one of the pies Mum made from them. Somehow, our discussion once turned out how she came to be there. It turns out she emigrated from East Germany and came to the US as a refugee. She left everything behind on one of the last nights before they finished construction of the Berlin Wall. She escaped by swimming across a river, holding her infant daughter's face above the surface. while she swam. Searchlights were flashing across the water, and machine gun bullets splashed nearby. What made my jaw drop? That such a gentle lady would have such courage and fortitude inside, that she would value freedom so deeply for herself and her daughter to take such risk to win it. The fact that she was holding her infant daughter, like literal baby daughter's face above the surface, like literal power woman right there. Our next post is from the anonymously writes, when I was around 10 to 12 in approximately 1967,
6, 7, 8, 9. No. Wait, that's actually yours.
We had neighbours across the street who were newlyweds with a young baby. The woman was exceptionally friendly, sweet, and notably religious. I remember babysitting for her once, as I had a small baby. As a responsible sitter, I was getting an excellent reputation for babysitting, and many neighbours were asking me, despite my age, for some reason, which escapes me now. She decided to give me a children's Bible. She encouraged me to read it, believing it would be easier to understand than an adult version. I really appreciated her kindness and support. After a while, she started working during the day, while her husband stayed home with the baby. He always had his garage door open during the day. One day, my brothers and their friends kept laughing while they looked at their house. I wanted to know what was going on, and they told me that the lady's husband was nude out in the garage. When I looked over, he was completely naked, and he was crawling on his hands and knees. He continued doing that repeatedly until we caught him, then he would scurry back to hide. After a while, he would be out there every day, and our clue was his garage door being open. It was a game to him, and he would expose himself until he came out and then run in again. He did it repeatedly, every day for an hour or two. I was shocked because I couldn't believe the lady's husband was doing that. Since I was so young, I didn't know what to do other than laugh with my brothers. At that time, I didn't even know it was illegal. I think I eventually mentioned it to my mum. Somehow it got back to his wife and the police. She ended up divorcing him, as she should, and told us that she had absolutely no idea what he was doing. She was extremely apologetic and eventually sold the house and moved. I didn't know the outcome of this case, but she was very embarrassed. I felt bad for her. Our next post is from the anonymously writes, my old neighbours. Firstly, it was a youngish couple. She had 2 daughters. They were living in her mother's rented house. The mother lived with her boyfriend. The male was a stereotypical short man, temper and all. He openly told me he was banned from seeing his young son. She was very obese, lazy, and would complain on social media if she couldn't park directly outside her property because she had shopping to carry. The way the street is set up, they live at the bottom of public steps with a pavement going left and right to other houses, so everyone else had to walk further, as was. They had 2 old dogs, and these dogs would be transported in the boot of their saloon car. When being removed, they were pulled out by their collars and dropped. They often had loud arguments, and the daughters were barely seen or heard and looked terrified when they were. The woman's brother was a regular there and often stopped after a night out. This regularly resulted in an ambulance being called, and because he thought he was dying, each time he would be told it was an alcohol-induced panic attack. Yet, it was a regular occurrence. These people would throw their dog poop into my garden, complain by banging the shed wall if my young son cried too loud, or I dared to sing along to music. Reported me multiple times for non-existent rat infestation, child abuse, loud music. The list goes on. The irony being often I wasn't even home when incidents were meant to have occurred. All my facts were given by the couple separately before we fell out. I suppose their secret was that they were outstanding citizens, like they like to believe, and I knew far too much for their liking, which is why they bullied me through the divorce and cancer treatment. They were relentless. They knew my situation because they would often contact my landlord to complain, and he had no balls at all and would tell them my business. Thankfully, I've moved away now and rarely see them, except if he spots me on the roads. Then he likes to get into my lane and drive like he's trying to smash into my car, swerving last minute. Lunatic. Alright guys, that is all from the Quora Zone today. Hope you guys enjoyed these stories. If you guys have any funny stories about secrets that you learned about your neighbour that made your jaw drop. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.